Good morning. How we all doing? How is how's the family? How's the work? How are you doing today? Good to meet you. And today we'll be talking about another interesting topic. Okay, you're welcome to Connect and Reflect again, where we bring you relatable topics. I remain your host, and other co-hosts will be joining us in this conversation. Now, the topic we brought today is so amazing. A topic you would love to be part of it. And because it relates to you and I, and so we're going to reflect on it and also connect and see where this conversation is going to lead us. So there's always controversies in some of this conversation that comes online, and that's why we are here to share our own opinion, our views on this conversation. And don't forget, it's getting colder now in Minnesota. So Ada is under the weather, feeling some cold. So in case you feel that my voice is changing, it's because Ada is cold. So that is that about that. And also, it's a lot of things that happen this week. So how was your own week? How are you feeling? How is it going with you? So today we are talking about the new policy that the China brought that said that if you don't have a degree, you cannot be talking on social media anymore. And this is like, does this policy make a lot of sense? Some said yes, we need to start regulating social media and start filtering what we put on social media. There are a lot of misinformation that are probably lies or hate speech on social media. But when you have a degree, there's a level of education that you have that will make you know what you're talking about. And also with that, you'll be knowledgeable on the subject matter you're talking about. And that helps you to be able to have good information to send to people. So this was the conversation about in China. And I was thinking like, I think it's making sense. And also like, it doesn't make too much sense. So that means now you're trying to tell us that we should leave conversations with people that have degrees. And people without degrees should keep short. And it didn't sit down well with me. Are you trying to restrict our freedom of speech, or you're trying to regulate speech? Which one are you doing? Are you discriminating people that didn't go to school? Does that mean that they are not wise? Do you think that people that went to school are wiser than people that didn't go to school? So, and also, another good thing is like, maybe by the time you need to be a subject matter, when you were talking about finance, you need to know that you have a degree in that conversation so you know what you're talking about very well. And also, thinking like, if you're talking about medicine, now that a lot of people come online and tell you what to use for medicine without even going to the four wall of school or medicine school. Or probably we all have become a justice system on social media, even when we don't even know simple, like we've not even gone to law school or have any courses or any license to talk about justice system in Nigeria. A lot of people have become, activists without even studying it, without even knowing what it's all about. So many cases like that. You will see everybody has become a marriage therapist or life coach on social media. And this are the things that China is trying to regulate. Like, no, we can't continue to have a lot of misinformation that is going to distract a lot of things or probably give false information online. You will hear, if you put this app and this app together, it will work for bubonisha, it will work for diabetes, it will work for hypertension, and you will see people rushing to it and trying to make sure that this is being used while you didn't study medicine. And if you hear some medical doctor will tell you that no, that thing that was said is wrong. A lot of people have used social media to become their doctor. When you want to have headache, go on social media and ask, what can I use? I have this headache. And a lot of unsolicited advices will now be flying. Do you think we need this policy in Nigeria because of how we use our social media? Is that the right regulation? Should education be the regulation? Or everybody should be accountable for what they say on social media? So these are many more we'll be discussing as we have our other co-hosts join us in this conversation. Hold on 1 minute. Let me see who we have online. Oh, Ima Said, thank you for joining us. So let's bring other co-hosts on and other people that have joined us. Should social media be regulated with degree? I think that sounds awkward. As much as I like the fact that they are trying to regulate it, but using a degree for the regulation is giving me some concern, and I think I'm the only one here. If I'm the only one, others can feel free to share your opinion. What do you think? Does education means what's called smartness, or probably you have a good mastery of the subject matter? Or it's just for you to be accountable, like, okay, if anything goes south, we're going to hold you responsible. Why do you think they use education for this conversation? Why do you think China has limit to speak or influence in social media? Are they just trying to cut people from talking on social media, or it's for our own good? China, you do this, or you do this. Do you think China policy, the new policy, makes sense? Or it's just, it's one of those, policies that will later go south that they give us? Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to join us in this conversation. What's happening to my network? Okay. So, do you think that should education be the level to determine who get the voice online? Are they trying to shut a lot of people up? See, if you think of that, what's it called, on TikTok? See, I think degree is needed. On X, maybe I think they should do it social media, each medium by medium. It's not generalizing, because some people have small sense on Instagram. You see that TikTok? I'm also part of you guys who we plenty for TikTok. We little or no sense. See, when I'm just going through, maybe my algorithm is just crazy. My algorithm is crazy on TikTok. I'm like, how did I get here? How did I get here? Especially those justice system. Just bring your case. They will help you to hide my identity, and they will navigate your story. And you'll be like, do these people really have emotional intelligence that's needed for this story? Or it's just street wisdom that they're using instead of reaching out for people that really can help you? That's counselor. Everybody have come a counselor, married counselor, and marriage, what's it called again? Everybody have come a married counselor and married therapist. And that is more annoying. Like, it's so annoying. But anyways, so do you think requiring influence, you have to have a degree to improve the quality and accuracy of your online conversation? Or it's just depriving people of their freedom of speech? And a social media influencing or conversation, is it our right or privilege? After all, I've got my phone by myself. I got my data by myself. Why do you have to regulate what I say? How does that affect you? And if you think somebody is saying things that will affect the peace of the country, get that person arrested. And that's what I feel like should be done. Personally, if you ask me, like, how do we regulate social media? If any malicious content is being posted, regulate it by bringing those people to book. And that will serve as a deterrent to others. If today you catch somebody, that person go to prison. Or you made the person prove what he said online. And, getting them sued, going to court and getting the right justice that they need, that will naturally regulate social media. Because everybody will not just be running mouths here. That without infringing on their rights or use education to, to shut them up. Hey, there are a lot of people that went to school and they are far from wisdom and they'll be speaking trash. So saying education, and a lot of people, they are just self-made. Do you think this thing will create creativity in people? A lot of people have so many ideas. If you look at those people that are working in so many places, they don't have a degree in what they studied and they're doing well in their field because these are experience-based conversation. Talking about marriage or counseling, or what you have experienced in your marriage, you want to share with others, or lesson learned to your own marriage, you want to share with others. Do I need to get a degree to share my what I experienced because it's my experience and it is my own truth? Or they're just using it to curb what people say, the citizen says about the government. And now telling us you need to have a degree in politics to talk about whether Tinubu is good or not. Does it really make sense? Or it's just, I'm just using, I know it's not in Nigeria, this conversation is not in Nigeria, but let's assume that it's been adopted in Nigeria. It will make a lot of sense. Or it's just a way to come. Don't talk. Before you can talk about the economy, you have to have a degree in economics. Before you can talk about politics or sports, you have to have a degree in sports. Anyways, you're welcome, Jashegun. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon.
Good morning. How's the place? In Aqua?
Yeah,
In Ageja.
Lafia Lou.
Salam alaikum.
Just call me Malam. Just call me Malam. No need.
Okay.
Don't speak in parables.
Malam Ajashegu.
Yes. Call me Malam.
See, I forgot on my outside. I know.
Don't
let me know.
Yeah. You will say Lafia. I said how it works.
So, how are you doing? How's the week?
Yeah, my week has been fine. God is good.
Are you ready for this invasion that Trump is coming? Because we are coming with Trump. We, the citizens of America.
Yeah, we've been waiting. We've been waiting.
You've been waiting?
We've been waiting.
I saw different readiness of Nigeria.
What's taking so long? You know, we've been waiting. We've been waiting, honestly.
Nigeria is just a joke. The president just see our online conversation, just like these people.
These guys are not serious.
They're not serious. Look at the people who want to help. Muslim will start saying that they will turn their Jalamiya to Sultana.
Right?
Jesus is
we're waiting, honestly, we're waiting.
Okay. Should be careful because this invasion. If they call and not say they call first to.
Of course, I know. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm waiting here. He is going to understand the power that my name carries.
I know, right?
He's going to understand the real interpretation of my name. So
after this conversation, we saw it in the news this week that China, though it's a business though, but we just want to see like does that business make sense in case we want to replicate it? Is it something we can adopt in Nigeria too? So the China government made a new policy that before you can be an influencer, that means before you can talk on the subject matter, you need to get a degree. And if you have a degree, you gotta keep your mouth shut. And this generated a lot of controversies online by our Nigerian citizens. Like, does it really make sense using that? Is it a way that the government is trying to curb and restrict speech, or they're just regulating the speech? So now, the first question is, do you think it makes sense? Does it really make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Of course, anybody that knows me would know that I would definitely support that. It makes a lot of sense. And it's not just about, it speaks to a larger topic of practicing what you study. You understand? It speaks to a lot, and we've talked about it here, about people who have come out to say that education is not that necessary. I remember the other guy you brought the topic of the guy, Egungun of Lagos, who said that, who came and talked down on education, and he was able to prove that at the end of the day, whether you're educated or not does not matter as long as you're able to make it in life. You understand? And the Chinese government, trying to insist that for people to be able to speak on some subject matters, they should be professionals on it. It's the way to go as far as I'm concerned, because it speaks to the latter topic, which actually encourages you not just um to just take any course. You find a lot of young people who want to go to school, and when they initially start with a course that they want to read this course, when they get frustrated, they then tell you that they want to study any course. You understand? At the end of the day, you have people like Lere Olayinka going to Arise TV and attacking Rufai that he studied animal science and he should be working in the farm instead of him being a presenter. Which, if this if these policies were adhered to, you have somebody like um um Rufai, who is a fantastic journalist as far as I'm concerned, but does not have a professional certification to back that up, and that's why they can be able to throw that bant at him. So I think it's a good policy. I think it shouldn't just start and end with social media influencers. It should, you know, go down to every professional course that can be studied and every profession that can be practiced. Yeah.
But every profession can be practiced in Nigeria. It's just that you just want a high paying profession. If you study Yoruba, you'll be a teacher. Is that not okay? But because you want to get more money, then you now use your Yoruba to go and work in the bank. If you study zoology, go to the zoo, go and work there. Just that probably you don't get enough jobs. So every sort of courses in school is being, you can use it. So let's come back to social media. Now we have a lot of activists on social media that even before you take your case to your family members or the Olori Ebi of your family, you bring it to social media first. Because I don't understand. Let's go back to that Regina Daniel story. I don't understand why we are aware of these stories. Because it's something you can. Does she need to get a degree to talk about my? Okay, that's not influencing. Okay, now let me retrace that. Talking about influencing is probably you want to be a doctor. All those people that sells herbs, that talk about herbs, they'll tell you go and cut this leaf, go and cut the leaves. It work for diabetes. Do they need a license to have that conversation and or become a doctor to have a conversation? On cases like that, it's good. On cases about marriage, it's good. Whatever you want to talk about, you need to have good knowledge of it. I like that part of that conversation of China, that before you can become an activist, you need to have gone to school for it. Before you can become a life coach or marriage coach, you need to have education in that aspect. Before you become, so what happens to creativity? What happens to what you learn from experience?
Yeah, look, I think every profession that you eventually practice requires you to practice it for some time for you to be able to gather the experience. Creativity can come on the job. In fact, on every job, there's room for creativity. But what they are saying is that you should have the basic qualification for you to be able to speak on the matter. I think it's a bad example when we have people who have not gone to school, and this is not beef, this is just a fact. People who have not gone to school at all, who cannot even put two sentences of English together, and they are educating um, people who have gone to school on a subject matter that naturally should require some level of intellectual prowess to speak on. And I don't even think, I think what I read more was, especially for social media influencers, you can actually have you can have the natural charisma to become a social media influencer. But go and check, most of the people who just have the natural charisma and did not go to school. They have been able to show us that the reason why you have to go to school is not even just for the educational knowledge. They've been able to show us that there are some certain etiquettes that you should have, that you may not get everything at home, and school can actually put that into you, because the government would not have even seen anything wrong with it if you don't find influencers who did not go to school, who cannot put two words together, and then they invite people who have PhDs, people who have MSCs, people who have BScs to come for interviews, and it doesn't just end there. Talk down on them, and these people become a pillar to the society, right? And like it or not, children tend to learn by example. Children tend to learn by example. So in today's world, one of the most lucrative jobs that children wants to become is jobs like musician, just jobs like social media influencers, social media managers, and all that. But just because there is no basic requirement for people to be able to get into that, you just need to be creative, talented, and all. Sometimes the industry can become bastardized. You see people who cannot even speak on a podium, who cannot take a microphone and be able to address.
Are you there or your network? So,
Am I still here?
yeah, your network went off.
Yes, sorry. Apologies for that. So you see such people who don't even, they cannot even write O with the bottle. You give them a bottle to write O, and you see government parastatals give them appointments, give them ambassadorial appointments. You understand? These things, they send a message to the upcoming generation. So how do we, the question is, how do you fix that? Nobody's saying that you cannot harness and use your God-given talent. But I think what they are trying to say is that there should be some basic requirements before you can be able to say you are a household name in this particular subject or in this particular career. We don't want to set bad examples for our children. Yeah.
But don't you think it's a way of silencing citizen, just to like everybody should shut up, like until you have a degree before you can talk? Do you think it's a way of
I
manipulating
don't
and
think it's a
silencing?
way. I don't even think it's a way of silencing, because they have only said that for you to be. They didn't say for you to speak, which means that you can own a platform, you can speak on subjects, but you cannot just speak a particular subject and become an authority on it when you have no basic knowledge, no basic qualification on that subject. That's what they're saying, which I think is okay. For instance, don't you think that one of the major problems that we have in our society is the fact that anybody can jump into any profession? The only profession that is respected in this society now is medicine, nursing, and law.
Medicine is not even respected anymore. All those Abba doctors will not let us rest now.
You see? So, and law, though at least to a reasonable extent, medicine is still respected. Nursing is respected. In fact, nursing is even still being looked down on, because if you are not careful, when you go to the hospital, some person hospital, if you see a nurse, you have to ask, are you an RN or are you an auxiliary nurse? You understand? Auxiliary nurse, people open chemists and then they'll say they are nurses, until when you try to dig deeper before you know what. And that's one of the reasons why I personally made a vow that I was going to practice what I studied. And people talk about agriculture a lot, and I am one of the biggest ambassadors of agriculture. I speak, I encourage people, I tell people you can. Of course, most people who study agriculture tend to abandon the course, tend to even study the course because they just want a degree. And I try to even be an example of you can practice what you study and you can be successful at it. You understand? And if we can be able to do that, and we say that anybody can, just imagine somebody will just stand up someday and say he's the military, he's a general in the army, and he will become the president tomorrow. He will just go and do a coup and become a president tomorrow. And mind you, there are people who actually studied political science in school. There are people who went to school and actually studied a degree called political science.
Yes.
And they come out with that degree in flying colors, but they cannot practice. They cannot practice because everybody can enter the field. The field is free for all. And that's the reason why there are certain professions in this country that even if you study it, you may find yourself not even doing well at it. Who said that? Who said that transport management was a bad course? Who said that transport management was a bad course? But it became a bad course because you have people in the union of NURCW are the one that calls the shots. They don't need any degree. So even when you are in school, people abuse you when you are studying transport management that you will be a subordinate of Oluomo. That's what people will say to you. That's what people will say to you that you look. If you are too gentle, they will say you should go Tasha. So if you are too gentle, they don't study transport. Seminary school. People tend to throw certain banters at you. And why? Is because there is no rule that says that before you can be able to practice in this particular profession, you need to have this particular qualification. I'm telling you that if that can be put into place, there are some courses that we even think are nonsense courses. Do you know that normally in the train stations, in the interstate bus stations, even in the airports, graduates that did transport management should have a job there. They should have a job there. Even for lucrative jobs like you becoming an air hostess, anybody can just be fine. That's what they just be fine. Just have the model look and all that. And you
So
know
now
somebody that
let's bring it to
knows
social media. So anybody
good.
that has like you don't need now you've been in a group for a while. Okay, let's assume that you've been working for the bank and you have so they don't really need you to have a degree in what you study. They don't care. So I can have a degree in communication and be I'm flexing on marriage. Do I need to have a degree in marriage before I talk about marriage, or I just need a degree? So what does this policy say? And will this really help, or just to reduce hate speech, fake news, or probably regulate necessary information to protect the society? Do you think it's just to protect the society? Do I really need a degree on the subject matter, or I just need any degree?
I think to start with, having a degree is a good start. Having a degree is a good start. Then, taking it to the point where you need to have a degree on the subject matter, then is a way to go. I mean, there are a lot of people on social media who call themselves marriage therapists today. No, I'm not even going to use the word marriage therapist. Who calls themselves counselors today? And they've never got, and they don't even know that there is a course for guidance counseling. They don't even know that there's a professional course. You know that one of the reasons, I personally think one of the reasons why marriage in this current century and in this current dispensation tends to fail more is because the church tends to give the role of marriage counseling that the church does to people who have been ordained as pastors instead of giving it to people who are professional counselors. There's a gap, there's an information gap there that the person who went to study it has more of that information that the person who just went to Bible study or went to Sunday school that the person does not have. You understand? So somebody who, if you want to come and talk on a subject for a start, it's nice that you are even a graduate, that you've heard about, even if you've not read it from cover to cover, at least you have an idea of what the subject is about. That's a fantastic start. Then it should get to a point where if you're coming online to talk about marriage, right, you should have studied a major course on marriage. You should have a major certification on marriage. Yes, it's not just because you are married. People tend to think that because you're married, you have succeeded in marriage, that it gives you. Even though we don't know what's happening, even though we don't know whether your wife is just enduring the
But it
whole
could be my
marital.
experience. It could be my own truth. I don't need to go to school to know that husband should submit to, wife should submit rather.
Yes, unfortunately, your experience is not enough to speak about everything that marriage contains. Your experience is just one. Another person has another experience. You may have gone through half of a particular experience. In fact, no marriage can go through everything that is possible. Your marriage can be, you can have a marriage that is successful and you have kids, or you cannot advise somebody who is impotent. You cannot advise somebody who married and they are unable to bear kids. Every marriage every advice you want to give based on experience. I'm talking based on experience now. Every advice you want to give, thank you, Satunde, is unique to you. It's unique to you at the end of the day. You understand? So, but if you actually go to school and study it, what happens is you have to cover every course, cover every possible outcome. That's what happens in agriculture. When we study agriculture in school, we will taught every possible disease that you can experience in poultry management, in life, everything was taught. You understand? So I think the good thing is they can start it by insisting that okay, just be a graduate, just be educated. You understand? And then they can then move on and now say now you need to have an area of specialization. Come on, it's embarrassing when Iya that is doing Boko is the one recommending drugs, medicine that is produced, not agbo, not info, is the one that is now telling you, yeah, go and buy this in the chemist.
Hey, because she has used it for a child, oh, she said now.
Just because you used it and it worked for you does not mean. What if I have allergies for that same medicine? That is how people kill people without knowing. What if it doesn't work for me? Does it mean that because the medication worked for Mr. A, it will work for me? Why is it that when doctor wants to recommend give you some medication or some injection, they will ask you, do you have ulcer? They will ask you some certain questions. Do you have it's because the doctors know, not just by experience, so by the knowledge they have acquired, that because it worked well for Mr. A does not mean that it will work the same exact way for Mr. B. So that's the importance of the knowledge.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. You're welcome, everybody. Tyler, you're welcome. Bertley, you're welcome. Thank you for being part of this conversation, because this is about to get heated. Unless one of you want to be in the same spot, then I can stand by myself that because this is discrimination against people that do not go to school. And it's also a violation of human rights, that everybody has a right to social media. Is social media a right or a privilege first? Let's start from that so that I know how to fight it very well. But today, is social media our right or a privilege?
Ẹ ṣé olóòtú. Ọpọlọ yín ò ní dọ́ba.
Iléeṣẹ́ yóò ní jóná. Òtítẹ́ tí wọ́n bí ò ní bọ́, ètí tẹ́ fi gbọ́ ò ní dí.
Iléeṣẹ́ yín ò ní jóná, ọwọ́ yín á máa ròkè. Àwa la máa wá, ẹ̀yin la máa bá.
Àmì o.
Is social media a right or a privilege? All right. Well, I would say that it's a privilege. The reason why I'm saying it's a privilege is because anything that can be taken away is a privilege, not a right. My voice is my right, but the vehicle with which I channel my voice is a privilege, because someone can wake up one day and say, we want to stop. I mean, it happened back in Nigeria when they stopped access to Twitter, and that makes it a privilege. Whether I want to be, social media is not part of human rights. So that's the straightforward answer to the question. Or do you want me to provide follow-up?
Okay. Now, do you think this restriction, or you need to get a degree before you can talk on social media, or before you can influence, do you think it makes sense, or just a way of restricting freedom of speech?
So it is. Let me give it this. Let me come from this point of view as a response. Where we are right now, where the state the world is right now, it is necessary to have a pushback. What I always say is, if you look at things in the world, there's always If you give room for some things, it gets too much, and then there's always a reset that brings it back. It's like a yin yang thingy. So it goes both ways. Unfortunately, where we are now is a case where the freedom is too much, is affecting the world, and there's need to curtail it. Let me give you an example. There is there is there's something that is going around on social media now. It was literally someone that started by saying that, oh, if you want to wash your air fryer, add hot water into it and air fry it for some time, and then bring it out. It will clean all the grease, right? Like the
Mhm.
grimes in it. But unfortunately, that led to series of fire.
Electric shock.
Not even electric shock, fire. Like, because once they do that, it affects maybe it's the diode or whatever. Those physicists will know this. And then the firefighters were getting calls of fire starting from air fryer. That is one of the numerous reasons why this is needed. Because of course, any to physics, to electricity, you will know that you don't make something that does not require you putting water. You don't mix it with water. So that's why I said that, because we've seen so many people that have no sense at all, and I'm not sorry for saying it, that have no sense at all, that are getting emboldened to see things, and of course they don't care about the side effect of what they are saying, as long as they get views. Let me give another example. In Nigeria now, because of course sex is the in thing now in Nigeria. Then you hear people saying, oh, if you want to get your manhood up and all of that, start using this. And they were mentioning cloves. But what they do not know is clove is good, but excess of it can damage your organs.
Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? But they'll just come out and say that. And then people that doesn't know, they'll go and consume it,
Hmm.
right? Tradomedical, whatever, is not bad. I'm not saying taking agbo is not bad. However, the job of a medical doctor is to let you know the quantity that you need
Even
to.
Agbochu can give you content. It's just that they are just products. Everybody's just selling it. Even those people selling, they are going to school for it. Know the quantity.
My sister, I'm not talking about quantity of take one cup one day, because within one cup, you don't know the quantity that is extracted. That is why, in fact, that's why you don't give your, I mean, when you give your house to be built by a bricklayer, there's definitely going to be a difference between a house built by a bricklayer and a house that is built with quantity surveyor.
Hmm.
There's definitely going to be a difference. So there's going to
I
be
feel that.
the gap between knowledge and I know how to do this small. You can't give uh 20-story skyscraper to Momo. I'm a bricklayer. This is not discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why it is important to have a level of um 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 verifiable knowledge before you can talk about certain things. Of course, you've seen it on social media. So many people, okay, you cannot. Let's say you're traveling from Minnesota now. You're going to Houston, right? And you see one person strolling. I'll be the one that will be flying you,
Okay. Thank
and you'll be
you.
like,
Let's.
trust me. I know how to do this. I read a book, or I just trust me. Will you fly that plane?
Mm.
So yes, it is needed now. If and the reason I say it is needed now is because of the state of the world now. The unfortunately the non-entities are bolder than they learn it now. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the the influencers that don't know anything, and you will know by the way they speak, you will know that these ones are empty head. So that is why it is needed, right? We need to do that. Honestly, it is. Unfortunately, China is the only one that is doing it. If any other country do it, they will be saying freedom of speech and all of that. Freedom of speech and human rights is nonsense. I'm sorry.
Okay. Tayo, let me know where you start before I come back. Because my comeback is going to be terrible.
I
So,
like
Tayo, where do you start? Do you think the channels will limit who to speak or not, or it's just they're just trying to regulate what is being consumed on social media?
I think it is important that it is actually being regulated, in all honesty, because the rate at which people are coming online, you know, and like Mr. Tunde said, the non-entities, don't let me put non-entities, the illiterates, they are bolder than the people that actually has command of this that they are talking about. Okay, so as much as I was like, okay, let everybody have freedom of influence,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it's important that it's being covered because on the long run, the illiterate will cause more harm than good, especially those ones that they don't read, that study, they don't, and a lot of people these days, they are too lazy to read. In fact, the topic they are talking about, they have little or no understanding about it. Their experience is from what they have seen applicable somewhere, of which they want to be complete application. So they just extract and they run with it. And they come on social media because they are bold, they already have fan base and all of those things. They just stick on those things. And before you know it, people start taking this thing. If I remember what was being told, the needle theory. Some people take content verbatim and they run with it. Before you know it, they started practicing what is not. It is on the same social media somebody learned how to do money ritual. Where to go and innocent person. Only for him to realize that he does not know the incantation to do the eventual money ritual. I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Someone's life is already gone. In the process of looking for money, that you don't even know how to conjure the spirit that want to take the dead body to give you the money in the first place. That is actually a diversion. I'm just trying to give you an example. All right. So I think we need to regulate, and we also need to regulate the kind of content people are bringing online. If you want to do our matter today, check online. If you are looking for today, that want to do money report, you will see a lot of things that are not supposed to be seen online are online. And lots of people are at risk of this thing. A lot of people that cannot even think for their own thoughts. They take all of those
So,
things.
Tayo, sorry, let me cut you here. Do you think degree is the problem here, or it's just that we are not holding people accountable and responsible for what they say online? See, I don't think we should discriminate this conversation thing with degree. That's the problem I have with it. Like, degree does not mean sense. Degree does not mean say like you know what you're saying. You may have degree and you have little or no knowledge about what you're talking about. What I feel the problem should be is like the way they can regulate social media personally is whoever says something against that it cannot be validated or get the truth of it, or it's a lie, should be held accountable, taken to court, and be penalized for it. Whatever the maybe it's going to pay money or for the truth or the for the lies you say online. Now, if I'm telling you like you need to have 72 hours of sex before you can be good, you need to tell me where you read it, how you read it, which resources gave you that information. if I feel there's a need, there should be an organization. Like the medicine should have an organization. You see something contradicting medicine, hold that person accountable, sue the person for what he said. By the time they start doing that, a lot of people learn to naturally keep quiet without putting education as the cause of their keeping quiet. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I understand, but I think that even if it is 15 months course, take on the subject you are teaching us, and let it be regular or periodic. Let us know that you are advancing your learning in regards to whatever content you are dishing out. And if you are going to be dishing out content for us, if you are going to be talking to us about marriage, let us know that you are actually, even in the 3 months course that you took before you start
Who
taking
is
on,
typing?
at least you go through the lens of that conversation. Okay, you don't just come to dish out something from your head or from your experience. Because experience is personal to whoever is experiencing it. And if I have to give you my experience, it might be something that you are actually going through too. Similar things that you are going through. But if you want to talk about marriage is very broad. I'm just giving marriage as an example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just taking marriage as an example. And if you want to talk about marriage, you need to take into consideration a lot of things. Okay, because marriage is big. All right, so you don't just talk about everything. There is sexual issues, there is childbearing, there is finance, there is a whole lot of things in marriage. And the thing is that if you have not gone through some things and you are talking about it or you've not learned about it, there is possibility that you might actually be saying the wrong thing. For example, now, if you have not handled large sum of money before and you are online giving counseling about money, don't you think that you are actually going to be talking the wrong thing to the set to some set of people? Because some of the people you are actually talking to are the people that are in marriage with lots of money. In a case where a man is talking about marriage and it is the wife that is financing the home, you will know that by the time he talks about marriage, he will be biased. Because he will talk from the point of the thing that he's enjoying from home. But if he has a course on the topic marriage, when he's handling things part time, he talks from the knowledge of what he has learned, not from his own experience and talking. I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to say.
I understand you, but I feel it's biased using education
I'm not saying you
as
just get a 4-year course, 3-year course, short courses. So at least you even be exposed to this thing that you are trying to do. So at the end of the day, you will not poison in the name of content. Do
so
you
now
understand what I'm saying?
Olotu,
I get
I want to correct a notion, right?
okay.
The particular law we're talking about here is not restricting on a blanket of you have to have a degree. What the law is saying is
You have a license.
you have to have a degree, license, or certification on some regulated areas, not all areas. It's not like saying that before you can talk about finances, you must be educated. No, that's not what they're saying. In the areas of medicine, law, education, and finance, you have to show that you have license, degree, or certification in those areas. And I quite agree with that because those areas, you cannot have knowledge outside of degree in those areas. There is no way you can tell me that you know about medicine without going to school to study medicine. There's no way you can tell me you know about law without going to school to study law.
What if I hold on, excuse me. What if I have a book that has to do with education?
Mm-hmm.
It's an author wrote it, that person's from the place of education. That
Mm-hmm.
person has education.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading the book and I'm dramatizing it, probably talking about what I've read, the content of what I read.
Okay.
You know, I have my to study, to understand a child. Hold on. And I said to understand a child, you need to understand the motor skill because I've read it here. The cognitive skill because I've read this here. So I mentioned what I've read. And I'm explaining it based on what I have read. But not everybody is accessible to this book that I'm reading. But because I have a platform, social media, I am interpreting what I've read. Do I need a degree to do that?
I love that. You see, you are. I'm not faulting you with what you're saying, right? Someone can do that. But the thing is, the interesting thing about um, um, science community is the benefit of what is the word that I'm looking for now? Um, uh, Review, peer review, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reading one book is not enough. It is school that you go to that will give you different perspectives. That's why you will see that there are some laws in physics that one person will say, "Oh, this is the law," and years later, another person will say, "Oh, based on what this person said, there's an update." Science is not rigid; it's dynamic as well. You understand what I'm saying? We have cases of, even in astronomy, where they say we have Pluto, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually they said, oh, there's no Pluto anymore. Now they are saying that there's even another planet. You see the point that I'm making? The point that I'm making is to say that reading one book or one author does not guarantee you knowledge to speak on some things. In fact, they will say that there's even in the Christendom, there's this way that will say that don't just listen to your pastor alone, listen to all other pastors as well for balance. The point that I'm only addressing what you said by, oh, maybe I read a book. You see, it's not bad to read a book and interpret what you read, but
Mm-hmm.
you might be speaking through the lens of just one author. That although the author might have referenced other people, but there is need to be part of a community of scientists to do a peer review. So who did you do peer review with?
All of
And do
you,
you
you
even
peer review
and
it.
and also, if you read a book, do you have the requisite knowledge to interpret the book? Because sometimes when you read the book, it's not just about reading the letter alone. It's like reading the Bible as well. When you read the Bible, there are footnotes, there are subtext, and there are context to the Bible. That's why some people, some pastors, and I think, again, we're making reference to what Banky W said in the video that we read, right? That's how knowledge become diluted. Because you take one thing and you're running with that context, when you should reference others for a holistic knowledge of what you're reading. So I'm not saying reading one book to interpret it on social media is bad, but that is not complete. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I just showed you that.
And another thing, I saw apologies. Another thing, how are we so sure that you are reading books? And we'll make you an exception that okay, you are reading books, so we are giving you an exception. Don't you think that because of you, others will be given exceptions too?
And that's why I'm faulting education, using education as a prerequisite to influence on social media. I feel it's just it's a lazy way of running through what you should do, because having education does not guarantee that you have wisdom, that you can have authority on that subject matter. A lot of people went to school and school did not even pass through them. Not even the kind of school that we go to lately now. I'm sorry. You can base on them what they read in school to what they will influence us with. I think it's like
Right?
if there should be a body, then there should be the body, a medical body, a lawyer body, a regulatory body. I mean, that anything that is about their subjects, about medicine, that is violating common sense or they're violating their own medical practice, they should hold the person that says it accountable. Go to court, go and defend yourself. If I come here and talk about education that does not make sense, or marriage, their bodies, their regulatory bodies should hold me accountable, and so that I'll defend myself. People that come online and cause that disturb our peace, they should hold them. They should go and shalaya in the court. With that, then you tell them which school you attended that taught you what you are saying. It's at the place of investigation or regulating that school should come in place, not in the first hand, like until you have a degree before you can talk. A lot of if a fella has a degree, does that make sense? Common sense. Do you think something that will come out of his mouth will be making sense, even if he has a degree? There are some people that just naturally don't.
Olotu, you're still missing the correction of nation that I said. It's not about just having a degree. Trust me, if fella has a law degree, he won't be that stupid. You understand what I'm saying? Because for you to be you know how much of debate you would have done, how much of journals you would have read. Because law is not about it's if you have a case tomorrow, right, with law, for you to defend that case, you still go back to reading precedents that I mean anything that relates to that law 20, 30 years ago. If Bella has medical degree, even to Babeshi comedy, he won't be that stupid with his comedy. No, it's the truth.
Adeshagun, you're too quiet for my liking. What's happening? Adeshagun.
Yeah, I'm listening. So I totally agree with. Yeah.
No, my question is, what happened to self-made influencers? That they are just creative. They are just they come up with activities that they don't need to go to school. You know, those people that can build things, you know, they're just creative without going to school. Why do you want to keep them?
You see, I think one key thing that Rosli has said today is that there are some key industries. I think that's even basic. There are some industries where it is a risk if anybody can just come and talk and say I'm a professional. It's a huge risk. You understand? But even I think that it should be taken further. Because you are talented does not mean that you should not get education on whatever. So who is not talented? Everybody probably has one talent or the other, but it still does not mean that because you are gifted.
What if I don't have the money to go to school? Not by force.
Go to
Then find
government
something
school.
else to talk about that doesn't violate your.
Then you
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Go to school to make comedy.
Nobody's
Nobody's going to tell you to have the degree to make comedy. So make comedy. So I don't put life at risk.
Know that yellow shit. Let me ask you a question, Olotu. We've been having this discussion on this program, on this platform. Why did you invite a medical doctor when we wanted to talk about medicine? Why didn't we talk about it? Maybe we went to school.
That was different now because we want a resource person from authority.
Exactly. That is the word, authority. The reason why we cannot talk about medicine is because we don't have authority. I don't know nothing about it. Medicine is not transferred by marriage.
And we will not say because he's giving birth, we also have the capacity to talk about medicine. Exactly. At least you've given birth, I've given birth. Some of the things we spoke about was about mothers that are putting to bed, but we still don't have medical experience to talk about it.
Exactly. So you don't see. There's one thing that I always say, that the fact that you've excelled in one aspect of your life does not give you the right to speak about every aspect of life. It would be wrong for a medical doctor to say because he's a medical doctor, he will suddenly become an authority in talking about law. That doesn't make sense. And I love what Brother Jashegun said earlier, that why do you go to pastors for marital advice? Are they trained?
Yeah, they are trained. They went to in theology school. They taught them counseling too now.
Which counseling? Which counseling? Am
How
I the
many pastors even go to theology school? That's the first question.
Oh,
They
God
just
called
say that
them. It's natural.
God
No,
called.
God, when God is calling you, come with all the package. Leave that one.
But
No,
when God,
God will give you all the wisdom that is needed for the job.
Olotu is being a devil's advocate.
If God calls you, you need to also go and learn.
Exactly.
It is
and
important
that's
so
the
that you
reason.
will know what God is actually saying part time. You don't just run on the basis of calling. That is why you have to join yourself with a pastor and learn.
You don't
That
even
is
So,
why that
understand
pastor will
the
send you
you don't
to
even
school of
understand
ministry so that you can
the
learn.
importance of this topic that Brosile spoke about. I think that if even in religion, it should be extended to religion. Yes, it should be extended to religion. You will not just come to social media and find every Tom, Dick, and Harry saying that they are pastors. You will not find churches at every corner. If you were not just theology school, if you were asked to go and ensure that you earn a degree first, you have calling or you don't have calling, or go and earn a degree first. Anybody can wake up today. Anybody can wake up today and rent a shop and call it Ajachegun Gospel Commission. Anybody can wake up today
happy
and
gospel
look.
commissioner. Which one? Commission the
Is saying
idea.
that it should be focused on some sensitive. I think that the areas where this policy should be focused is very broad. It should be very broad. People wake up and say you just need the gift of the Holy Spirit to be a pastor or to lead a church, and you see many of them coming online to say nonsense, to speak nonsense. If these basic requirements, Rwanda tried it. When Rwanda tried it, more than half of their churches closed down. People that just wake up one day and feel like they are hungry, how would they couldn't get a job and they don't know what to do. They just come up and say God has called them, and they
So,
begin to run a church.
to cut the long story short, I want this social media to be for the elite alone. The educated elite should be only one talking. That all of us should go and sleep or what, or should go and what? Where do you want to send us to? We should just be in the comment section. Why you guys that want to school should be doing the talking.
If you want to talk, if you want to be an authority on a subject, go and pay the price. And that's the lesson that we learned from medicine now, that this is the most lucrative job in the world, where you can go to, you people tend to leave Nigeria to go to places and they tend to make it, is medicine. And why is that? Is it that, are you saying that if a graduate tries to, or if a non-graduate or an educated person tries to understudy a doctor, are you saying he's not going to be able to do some of the things that he does? He will be, but they've put a policy on that course that not just any fool can just come in there and pick and say he's a surgeon. Not just any fool can just come in there and pick needle and or pick Bible and begin to write prescriptions. And look at the respect that he commands for that particular. And just like Rotule said, I mean, you could have just told us to go and research on that topic. Why did you bring a medical practitioner?
ìyẹn gan ti
ẹ ṣáà lọ padà
ẹnu
lọ́rọ̀
ọ̀rọ̀
mi
yẹn gan ti tó ká ti ẹ̀ ń di ọ̀rọ̀ yìí lónìí.
ẹ ṣáà lọ́rọ̀ mi fi hit mi.
ìyẹn gan ti tó. The fact that àpè pẹ́lá
Right? Why didn't we call fella?
àbí. And the funny thing is, tá a bá pe pẹ́lá, you know, àwọn tó máa wo kíní yìí wọ́n á tó bí 200,000.
I know, right?
And that is the problem. People don't go after the knowledge itself. Sometimes it's more about the traffic, right? So it's not like they're doing it to help anybody per se. Because honestly, if like all those podcasts on that we know in Nigeria, right? If they want to bring anybody to talk about the plight of, I mean, how it was in the medical field in Nigeria, and I mean, between doctors and patients, they can bring just about anybody, because sometimes it's more about the gas boost. It's not like it's really helping. I think we mentioned things around the mentality podcast that we watched with Sheung. To me, Sheung gave some good response, but I can say it without mincing words. that his inclusion in that podcast
But for crowd, for
is for
clout.
exactly, and he did just that because, and call on that before people that will come for me. His responses were great, but does not align with, as far as I'm concerned, right, with the discussion. And that is what happens when you bring people that are not trained. They can create the buzz, but it runs a danger of either just creating buzz and not having any substance versus or just causing chaos. The medical discussion that we had, if you want me to be contrarian as well, I can do that. Of course, I don't have any followership online, right? But it won't solve anything. But at least hearing it from a doctor add some credence. It's more about the credence that is added to it.
Right.
That is why it is important that if you want to stand in front of a crowd, at least you must have a repertoire. You must have something of substance that you're giving to people, not just because you have 200 million followers online.
Followers, and that's what they are doing. There's this program on YouTube, Disaster or Delicious, the chef program that Chef T was created. And when you look at the judges, they have no idea of what food looks like other than the one they eat in their house. What's Shaggy doing in a chef competition as a judge? What is other people like that,
Exactly.
Enioluwa and co, all those big celebrities, Mama Diola, what are they doing in a chef competition? They are not chefs. Later she brought what's her name? Idabasi. You need to see her comments.
Yeah, exactly. You see the difference in comments.
Exactly. And this self-acclaimed food critics just yelling very rudely, guy. Just yelling at people.
Àwọn tẹ́ ń bú yìí táwọn fáǹsì wọn bá gbà yín ẹ̀yin ò sọ̀rọ̀.
Very rude, guy.
Òótọ́ náà dẹ̀ nìyẹn náà. Ó yá kẹ́ máa bú wọn lọ kán lè wá bú yín lórí bí so that you draw them here.
Unfortunately, and that's one thing about this platform. It will not grow so much because we do more of intellectual conversation. Kali, I want to do this thing. What did they will have been here. So now, do you think now that government will use policies like this to criticize, to silence criticism against themselves in under the disguise of regulation? Do you think the China government are using this policy to keep people quiet about their own about their administration? Because about that, government must say about politicians or people that study politics to talk about this stuff.
So, to me, I don't think so. Of course, we can talk about China being restrictive and all of that, but I don't think so. You see, China is, the world can talk about China as draconian government and all of that, but it's working for them. If you go back to when we're talking about TikTok and all of that, do you know that the IP that people in China watch, the algorithm of the things that they see is different from what we in the West see. You understand? They see educative material, how to do things, that's what they see on their own TikTok. But in the West, you see challenge, one dancing challenge, purple light, red light, kini kan challenge. Báwo ni anybody should pay when you're saying that? So they know what they are doing. And this also, to me, I'm not talking about politics of how they are restrictive or not, but I don't see anything that benefits government in saying you have to be knowledgeable in the things that you want to talk about, because it reduces noise. Let me give an example. When coronavirus happened, right? One of the things that made coronavirus to affect a lot of people was because we have people in authority countering what CDC is saying. That if that is the motive of the government, so be it, because you're creating noise that is preventing people from getting the benefit of what. I mean, imagine saying that, oh, what are the things that they say would so many absurd things that will stop coronavirus. One I think Iranian leader was saying, if you put essential oil on your anus, how does that work? One person from China, no, not China, India, say cow poop, igbe malu, stop coronavirus. What did that one? Some other people say that garlic. So how are they correlated? Exactly. How are they? What is the backing? And you ask them, well, how do you combine these two together? They will be mumbling. So to me, if a government says that, government is not saying that we are the one that will tell you what to say. If they start saying that, then that is restricted. That is them trying to further what works for them, right? But let's not, because we are against the government, quote and unquote, allow population to continue.
Okay. Now, my last question for them, because we have spent quite a number of time here. So, how do we draw a line between regulating speech and restricting speech? Adeshegun, let me start from you.
Okay, well, honestly, restricting speech would be for us not to even, have an opinion at all. Yes, regulating it is saying that there are some rules that needs to be followed, and I think China has proved where China's society today, where their economy today is at, they have proved that most of the policies that they've brought out are actually good. They are probably the world leading economy. You understand? So I think they're a good example to follow. And the other part of speech regulation that I think is necessary is you have a lot of people come online just because these policies are not there and there's no repercussion to it. You have a lot of people that spreads false information and they can reach thousands of people. They are so influential that they can reach thousands of people just within minutes. So if you look at things like that, you know that it's important for the regulation to be there. I mean, I used to ask myself why the military guys in Nigeria used to be very angry when they see a civilian wearing their regalia. And so when somebody now told me that the reason is because it took them years of hardship, of maybe torture yourself to be able to wear that regalia, and then you as a civilian just takes it off in a day, and then you wear it as a fashion statement. So that being said, I feel like there has to be a regulation, there has to be a check to it, there has to be some basic requirements before you can just be able to jump into any industry and then begin to speak, especially sensitive industry. There needs to be some regulation, to be honest. In fact, the regulation should start with your qualification on that subject matters. I repeat again, especially on very sensitive subjects. And I'll give you an example in rounding up. I have seen plenty farmers fail. I practice farming for a living. I've seen them fail. And let me tell you, most of the time when farmers fail, 80 to 90% of the time is because people just feel like it's a job that does not really require research. It's a job that they can just go to the back of their house, till the ground, plant, and then they will reap. But it's not like that. If you don't study it, you don't plan properly, you're probably going to fail. So I think that policy, I'm all in for it.
Okay, thank you. Virtually, how do we draw a line between restricting speech and regulating speech? You know, there's a thin line between it.
Well, the thing is, as much as you can say that there are thin line between regulating speech and restricting speech, they're actually very different in the mode we go about them, right? Because regulating is actually ensuring that freedom of speech is preserved. What do I mean by that? Because freedom of speech does not mean you have to start telling falsehood, right? So regulation is what prevents that falsehood, right? And that is what China is doing. Because when you're regulating speech, you're saying that you're ensuring fairness, safety. That's very important. Um, whereas restricting is basically saying that you want to suppress a particular viewpoint, right?
Mm.
So I think China is doing more of preserving free speech with what they are doing, because what they are doing will lead to fairness. What they are doing will lead to safety. And it's not a case of they are saying that, oh, you, and the way you're making it seem like if you don't go to school, you can't speak online. No, that's not what China is doing. You can speak. Well, that is regulation.
Mm.
Regulation is talk you, but as you are talking, know
Talk with
that
your sense.
so that is freedom of speech does not give you the right to mislead.
Báwo ló ṣe wá fẹ́ mọ̀ pé ẹnìkan ní degree kan tó sọ̀rọ̀? How do
Mm-mm.
you know I have a degree? Is there going to be
That
a
is
policy,
that
or you
is where
have
the
to update, upload your certificate first?
well, how they would enforce it, me, I don't know. But that is where the regulatory body will come in the sense that,
Okay.
of course, China has a solid database of their people and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, regulation is there is someone that will charge you to ensure that you're saying the right things based on the knowledge that you have. You don't just wake up one day and then you start saying something and they said, well, how did you get it? You said I got the idea from a madman.
Mm.
That one will not work. You understand?
Okay.
Restriction on the other hand is suppressing. It's basically saying that you don't say anything, irrespective of who you are. You are collecting your right to speak. And that was what happened in Nigeria with respect to the ban on Twitter.
Mm.
That one is restriction. Of course, China has their own restriction as well because they have their firewall that prevents you from accessing any application that is not built by China. Right? WhatsApp does not work in China. You have
Mm.
to buy.
Really?
Yeah. So those are restrictions. But what they did now is regulation, and it is very good. And every country needs that form of regulation for us to at least get back from the wokeism that is going on in the world right now.
We can tell you we have so many things out of experience that we know, out of the books that we have read. We have a lot to share with you. You are shutting up also because of education.
Yes,
God, you know, no.
yes, we
Tayo,
are.
what do you-
They say whatever she.
Tayo, do you think they are not restricting? They are restricting us instead of regulating. What's the difference between regulating and restricting in this scenario?
I think I will go with the definition Mr. Segun and Mr. Tunde said. I want I won't have said it better. But I think it will be difficult in Nigeria to actually regulate in the sense that if you say somebody should have a degree in a country where we don't have database, how will you know I have a degree? When you bring up my name, how will you know whether I have a degree or not? Okay, so I think it will work in the country. It will work in China because there are things that actually systemized and it is working. Okay, but in a country like Nigeria that we don't have database of our citizens, it might be a bit difficult. You will have to arrest the person first before you will know whether the person is having the degree or not. It's not a situation where you will put the degree behind you and you start talking. What if what you are putting behind you is fake?
Exactly. Oh, that's a good idea.
Sure, you understand. So even if you say that they should put it with their this thing, Nigerians are smart. They can get fake and put it there for you. But in this country, we don't even have database. Okay, so I think for now, in all honesty, Nigeria can really not regulate as much, but it is okay if they allow, if they actually give it a trial. So on the day you misyan, they carry you and tell you to come and defend the things that you have been saying.
Tayo,
But
did
for
Funke Akindele study
definition of
theatre?
restriction or regulation, I will follow
Did
both
Femi
of
Adebayo study theatre? Will you not affect those people?
No, it
Sure.
won't. No, it won't.
that's
Stop.
different.
Yeah,
Though.
so
That's
Hmm?
different.
They had a degree, but not in theatre. They had it in law.
they
So
they
when
That,
they are
did
into theatre, they are
they
not.
different.
They
Is
cannot.
acting.
they did tutelage.
Acting is a make believe.
Wọ́n nígbà tó ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ tíátà wọ́n lọ́gà wọ́n kọ́ṣẹ́ tíátà.
Someone gbasabuke.
And that's why, again, I will still correct it again that it's not about degree. You're just using degree as a blanket thing here. Nobody is saying you have to have a degree, but have some form of training. And they all have that training. And they are, in fact, arguably two of the best actors and actor and actress in Nigeria currently. And they've proven themselves. So they have the right to talk about theater arts.
Anyways, Isha cannot shut us up in Nigeria. So carry your policy, let it end in China. Let it end in China. Because ọ̀nà àtijọ́ wa ọ̀nà àtijọ́ lẹ̀ gbogbo yín fẹ́ dì í. Anyways, that's all that we have for today. Thank you for joining us. Sincerely, in all sincerity, it's a good policy. At least it regulates what we consume, and you don't be no pressure online anymore. You know, they won't be telling us what we cannot achieve, what's not achievable, and that will tell us that certain people who have the subject matter, and it will even see our country in a very limelight that we're educated, because that's what we post online with that is consumed by people of other countries too. Who is this? My brother had 2 turns. Oh, so that is more excited to go. Thank you, everyone.